Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode, or this sort of long multi-episode of. I'm not good at this anymore. I haven't done this in like 2 months. This
You want me to
segment
do the
of-
intro too?
Yeah, I could, yeah. I'm Banter from the Fuel Jackson podcast. Apologies for that completely messed up intro. Maybe Cody should do it after all.
Ambitious
Today
but
we-
rubbish.
Starting off talking about the new Lamborghini Countach, which is powered by a hybrid V12. What do we think about that?
The thing is,
Nothing good.
I would be angry if it was a downsized V12, but it isn't. It's just a V12 with, I don't know, some supercapacitor bolted to the side. It's still a Lamborghini V12, just with some extra bits on it. It's not like
Yeah.
a Prius where it's been downsized for a reason. It's
Yeah.
it's not like the, what's a good comparison? The NSX. The NSX had a downsized V6 and had a hybrid motor covering that. It's just more power, not taken away.
Yeah.
I am definitely happy to hear it's a V12. I was waiting for it to be something completely stupid.
I was
but
waiting
once
to be a full EV, honestly.
yeah, really.
Well, honestly, I was waiting. I didn't figure Lamborghini would go full EV, but I was
Yeah.
waiting for we put this small V8 in it. And
Or put the Hurricane engine in it,
Or
which
like,
isn't a bad
like
thing.
Chloe did and put a V6 in it, like they did with the new
Oh.
296.
yeah.
Bring
What are you
back,
thinking?
mind you, the Dino always originally had a V6, so it sort of makes sense, but doesn't really.
I think my biggest thing, all these, see, haven't talked about cars so long, I can't even say the words anymore.
Yeah.
Uh,
I feel
We've been off
The
there for a
auto-
while now.
right, all these auto manufacturers, of course, are bringing out their hybrids and full EVs, and it is slowly going that way. That itchy red blanket of EVs is moving upon us. My biggest thing is this a true Countach? I mean,
That's
and
my problem.
why the Countach was a gorgeous car. I challenge. I mean, if you're truly into cars and automobiles, growing up, you knew what a Countach was. If you was from my generation or even your guys' generation, everybody knew the Countach is the Lamborghini for the longest time. And it was because there was no other car like it. It was absolutely wild. It was everything, and the only thing missing was the space thrusters and the laser guns. It was it's the only thing that
full
was
James
missing.
Bond.
No,
spec,
the Knight
yeah.
Rider voice from Kit.
Yeah, there we go.
Exactly.
That's-
It was the epitome of cool. It was the coolest car there was. It might not have been the most reliable and the most well built, but it was the coolest car there was.
I mean,
And you
come on,
see-
it's not a Toyota, it's a Lamborghini. Who
Yeah.
wants
Yeah,
that
exactly.
from a
Cool,
Lamborghini? You know.
As much as many MR2s try to.
yeah.
Countach Kitco made from a Toyota.
And I'm sorry, I don't know if you guys have watched the YouTube videos with the new Countach, but when they done the reveal, they showed him driving it off of the plinth, and they had to turn it around and drive it off down the ramps, and it was so heartbreaking because they turned the car around going backwards, and they didn't have to do the standard Cantouche reverse where you got the door open, you're leaning out
Yeah.
and drive.
Mm.
And
Doing
it's like,
the Hammond's thing, stick them on like that.
and you think it's because there's cameras in it. And for some reason,
And he's
that
not a huge
broke
big
my
wing.
heart. Yeah.
Mm.
And the other thing is it just me or is the styling okay from the front? Yes, it does look very retro Countach. From the back,
Sorry.
it still looks very.
It looks.
like a
I mean, even
Lamborghini
from the
Fiat.
side too.
Yeah.
It's a little bit too. It's too futuristic. You know?
Modern.
Yeah,
And
too
even the
modern.
front, even the front,
Yeah.
it looks less of a Countach to me and more like a Murcielago with Countach headlights on it. If you look at the way the bonnet comes down.
Yeah.
Well,
it's- yeah.
Dare I say it looks a bit McLaren F1 too.
You know.
Yeah.
A bit. Yeah.
Honestly,
It's-
the car that reminds me most of is the GTA clone of the Murcielago. I think it's the Infernus. It looks more like that than it does any real car, I think.
And they have said they have already sold every one of them. And it's like, wow.
It just came out like what, 2-3 weeks ago, a month ago maybe.
This is a problem with modern hype. There's so many to choose from. They're all sold out immediately, and you don't see any on the road because they're all in garages. It's less interesting.
Everyone who buys one just wants it to be a trailer queen and a garage queen.
No, they want it. There buy it as an investment because they think in 3 years' time it will double its value.
Exactly, trailer queen or garage queen, like Leela said. It just it's there with the cover over it. They occasionally show it to a friend or let somebody take pictures, and that's it. It still has the same miles on it as when it was delivered,
which is maybe 2 or 3.
2,
yeah,
because they had to put it on the trailer and move it around in the yard a bit. So,
maybe 0.5.
Yeah.
I mean,
more than 3
when
miles
you're
on
to sell
it,
that, it will have
happy.
more value, but you're just not having fun with it. It's just pathetic.
So I think it's a bit half-hearted because there's too many. The Countach was not like Damon said. It's modern. It's too clean. It's too clean. The old Countach had hard edges and the fins and the big air ducts and all that. This one is too aerodynamic. It's too clean. It's too smooth. It's too rounded.
It's like a domesticated Countach.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's like they put it in a tumble polisher and took all the hard edges off and polished it really nice. You know,
it's like they potty trained it so it didn't drip oil all over the driveway.
It's like they sanded it down for 2 days straight.
That's what I was just to say, because I've been trying to figure out why I just don't love it. I don't hate it, but I don't love it.
Yeah.
And that you hit the nail on the head. It's not wedgy enough. It's too rounded. It's too circular. It's almost too fluid. Like, because that's what made the original Countach such an icon. Because after the 60s and then the early 70s, when we had all those organic fluid designs like the Daytona 250 GTO, the Ferrari Daytona, the Lamborghini Miura even, then we had the Countach, which was a complete wedge. It's like, okay, I did this as a kid. Did any of you take like one of those pink erasers and then just like file away at it on your desk trying to make it that aerodynamic shape? I still have it actually.
Yep.
Because I guess I saw a Countach at that age. I was like, I want to make it look like that and get all the wedges. Except instead of like, I guess taking, let's say, a knife and then chiseling it out and getting those hard edges everywhere, as you guys said, they smoothed it out, and that's the problem. It's too rounded. And I also agree that it kind of looks like a Murcielago and an Infernus had a baby. It looks too much like that. But yeah, they took all the hard edges out of it. That's what made. What was it? That Lancia Ital design from the 70s. That concept. That's kind of like a Countach with its hard edges and its wedge-like shape. And it's just too modern.
What they done was took a Countach that was very exciting and appealing to the eye, and made it immediately boring to look at.
What they've done is they've made a timeless car to be fit within a time period. I think it's still going to look good for the next 5 years and look all right, passable. But after that, I think it's going to go down not a good looking car, a car that aged poorly, unlike the original Countach, which hasn't.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I agree, because I think maybe, but I think in comparison to cars like the Sian, I think it'll age better, because the Sian, that is a product of its time. That is a real, Now, I'm not saying I don't like the way that it looks, but it's a very angular, very aggressive, very linear design.
Yeah.
Kind of like the original Countach, funnily enough, but in a different way. And the Countach, the new one, I think that's a pretty car to me, because it's not as angular. It's a more, I guess, traditional design, but I think it's boring compared to the old.
It's a safe design.
Exactly. Because
it looks like the new, what's that new Rimac? What's it called? The Concept 2?
The Navara or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, the Navara.
It looks like that. You know, it's like they didn't really put a lot of thought into it. It's like
a Navara
let's just try to use this new formula we've come up with to make all modern supercars kind of look like that.
It looks like Navara with Countach bumpers attempted to be grafted on somewhat.
It's like they chopped the front half of the old Countach,
then took a polish wheel to it,
and put it onto the Navara. That's what they did.
And change the
Yeah.
headlights to an Aventador. Or the taillights, I'm sorry. Taillights to the Aventador.
Yeah.
Because from the back, it looks very Aventador. And, they just done that little bit of a Countach kind of resemblance.
Yeah.
I don't... The other thing I loved about the old Countach was it had the fender flares on it.
Yeah.
And this
Yeah.
one does. It's just round. It's
Neutered. It's been castrated.
been sanitized.
Yeah.
It's been what's the one? It's been no, I'm really
Cats?
not. I'm not doing well today, am I?
No, you're not. The other thing
It'll come to me. It'll come to me.
Okay. The thing that scares me is anytime an auto manufacturer of anything really, decides to revisit their heritage and go back, just like with Lamborghini redoing this Countach, is they're going to rebuild something else. And my fear is if they try to remake the Mirror, and I'm sorry, that will upset me. It's just
They did a concept reimagined mirror, I think in the mid 2000s. They had it on the car. But
Yeah.
yeah.
that
And that
was
didn't
just-
look
just-
bad, but it had the same problem. It didn't capture the essence of the original. And that's what this car doesn't quite do.
yeah. If you want to capture the essence of an old car, just make that old car again, but make it reliable.
I saw a brilliant comment on Facebook when someone brought it up, and they said just do what Aston Martin did with the DB5 with the Bond cars, and just make a limited 15 car run. Hell, it might not be
Exact
road
same.
legal. Hell, you might need to put it on kit car plates to get it to be road legal. But I mean, it keeps its preservation of the original.
And the other thing is now you're going to be talking to people, and you say Lamborghini Countach, and now you have to specify which one you're talking
Yeah,
about.
Gen 1,
Yeah.
especially if
Yeah.
you have kids around. Cause,
And everyone's gonna go, oh, you have that awesome website one from the 80s? And then when you say, no, I've got the 2022, I've got the brand new one, they're just gonna go, oh, you got the one that was censored. That's what I was gonna say.
You see,
It's like it's been censored, you know?
Ah,
it's-
okay.
It's
Yeah.
like
You see, I
it's
was-
kind of gotten all the best bits taken out of it to make it fit into this modern society that's not as accepting of the kind of wild old 80s style.
Yeah.
And I think that would be a problem, except the new Countach is something like silly price, like a 1 point something million pound.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you're gonna be able to drop that much amount of money on a brand new hypercar, you're probably gonna have a normal Countach. I'd at least hope you'd have a normal Countach as well, because they're
And-
probably less still, even though they're quite expensive.
The
I
other
think
thing
the
is,
old ones go for $500,000, don't they? Something
Yeah.
like that.
I think a little bit
So-
more now, but yeah, about that.
You know, half the price for a much better vehicle.
yeah.
Yeah.
And dare I say, one of the things that was upsetting about the new one too was the wheels. You guys
Yeah.
just stole some regular old Aventador wheels
Yeah,
and
and
slapped
put-
them on there. And the old Countach
Cut
had them
and
deep
paste.
dish kind of old
Yeah,
Krager
with
alloy
the circle
style wheels.
holes.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
could you have not made a retro wheel to go along with your retro?
And I mean, the brilliant thing about the Countach was the wheel arch was square, but the holes in the wheels were round. Whereas
Yes.
most cars the other way around.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that was the fun part of it, though.
Yeah.
There was so many just oddities about it. You looked at it and think, well, why is that there, and why is that a hard crease here, and why does that stick out? But that's what made it a beautiful car, and all that's gone in this one now.
Mhm.
It is just, it's an afterthought. It
It's
really is.
sad.
And the
And-
other problem. Sorry, you go first.
That big black intake on the side. Everyone I've seen so far has just been a white one.
Mhm.
And that big black intake on the side, just, it looks like a sticker. You know, it don't even look like it
It
actually
looks like the
belongs
fake
there.
Audi air intakes. Like
Yeah.
the ones I have on the, the
Yeah.
supercars.
What about the
the
GR2?
TTRs
Yeah, that
and
one.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just looks so out of place. It's like, oh yeah, the old Countach had a vent there. What should we do? Well, we got this big piece of black plastic. Let's go, you
It's
know.
like they put a big strip of black duct tape or something.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Or like
Got some
electrician's
flex
tape
tape.
and just stuck it on. Like, yeah, that'll
Yeah.
do. That'll do.
Or,
Yeah.
like Clarkson did on his Renault in that old Top Gear special where he had that black tape all across the windshield, so it was just a small little slit like that.
Oh,
Did he have a
that was
straight
the
draw?
truck, wasn't that? That was
Yeah.
It's the Black Ops Countach.
Yeah.
It's the COD Special Edition.
Oh.
Yeah, not like edition.
Yeah.
Imagine you get pulled over. Getting pulled over by one of them. There are a lot worse cars to be pulled over by.
Yeah. Exactly.
I just imagine the police in Dubai getting about 10 of those and
Yeah.
pulling people over, and then
No, they say it's sold out.
I'm pulled out by that stupid thing. I mean, come on.
No, they say it's sold out. Every single one has been sold to Dubai. They've just placed one big order for the police.
Yeah. I mean, Lambo just made a heck of a lot of money.
That's probably why they brought it back.
The other thing about the Countach they didn't replicate, and I'm sorry, it's what also made the Countach. There's so many things that made the Countach what it is. We could pick on that all day long. But the windows. You don't have the mail slot that only opens like this big that you can't get a drink through. You know. Now it has normal uppy down windows. And come on.
That's the technical term.
Yeah. That's just my
You
take.
want to have to question your drink you just bought from Starbucks.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
You mutilate it to get it through the window.
The problem with recreating a Countach in any way is a lot of what made it great also made it pretty rubbish. And to try and recreate that design, what
It's
Lamborghini
so
tried
bad,
to
it's
do,
good.
yeah. They
But it's
tried
like a barge.
Yeah.
We'll take a
What-
great
what?
car, make it worse, and charge more for it. You know.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So it's 2 or 3 times the price for one, even though it's
Yeah.
not nearly as good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what they done. They took a fantastic car, and I don't know. I think they ruined it. When I first seen it, I was amazed. I was like, whoa! And now, after a couple days of it, I'm just kind of like, no, they shouldn't have. If you weren't going to do it right, don't do it. And it does look like
It has the Lamborghini Urus effect. You know, when the first few times you see a Urus, like, a Lamborghini Urus, and then once you see one for 20, 30 times, like, I see a lot where I live. I see one at least once a week. I'm like, just another Lamborghini Urus. You know, I'm like not even interested anymore. You know, after seeing this Countach for 2 or 3 weeks, I'm like, screw it. Nothing special to me anymore. It's just another vehicle, you know, just kind of fits, it just kind of blends in to everything else.
And the thing with Lamborghini, I wouldn't expect, because Lamborghini historically have not really recreated a car. They've done similar cars in their past, but they're always making a new kind of car that's legendary. The Aventador, the Urus, although you could say it took cues from the LMW02, it doesn't share the name, it doesn't share the design language. Everything they make is kind of unique, and that kind of makes it special, because they all have a place in history. Making a new Countach messes up with that order. And I mean, if they do, what they're going to do next? They're going to take a Urus, take the body off, put a squarish body on that isn't really square, call it LMW02. Are they going to make the
Take out
Alpha
the
or the
H1 body, slap it on the chassis of the
Urus?
on the chassis of the Urus, and then call it the LMW02.
Yeah, there's so much that can be caused by going down a rabbit hole like this.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if Lamborghini end up continuing down repeating old models, it's not going to be the same, because then you can tell they're out of ideas, and that's one of the best things about Lamborghini. They're never out of ideas.
Yeah.
I think as a counter argument to that though, how many other cars are they really going to go for? Like the Miura would be the last one, because Lambo's not going for the what was it, the 400 GT? I'm pretty sure that's
400
Let's
GT.
hope not.
No, they would go for the Miura, but then by the time they do a Miura, then the Diablo would be old enough to go after that.
Yeah, but I mean that's kind of the same as the Murcielago. That's kind of the same. Like that's what they're making now, effectively.
Yeah.
The Diablo is just 90s mid-engine design, and that's about it.
I think the Diablo is the cut-off point. I think because that was the last one before Audi.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But
And
even if they made... Sorry, you go.
Dare I say, because I was growing up during it. Graduated in '93, so in that time frame, after seeing the Countach and had posters of it on my wall and stuff. Honestly, when the Diablo come out, it seemed a bit boring. Because there again, you took a beautiful thing like the Countach, as crazy as it was, and then when you go to the Diablo, it's much more reserved. It ain't as crazy. It ain't as angular. It ain't as, you don't have all the big, open ducts and stuff. So they've slowly gotten, but by the time the Murcielago come along, well, you could tell it was Audi by that point because everything had been shaved down. It was very clean. It was, which is kind of what this is. It's like the Murcielago version of the Countach.
And the Murcielago was still cool, and it was still mad, but it wasn't as mad as the old car.
The Murcielago is cool, but it is not aging well. And I see them now, I'm like, yep, that's very old.
Well, the originals they haven't aged well. The LP one doesn't age too badly. The later models, but the originals, My dad has a funny story, but I have to ask him if I can tell you that story. But he has a funny story with the Murcielago.
Yeah. So they're not bad. It's not the finest hour of Lamborghini, but they weren't bad. I think that by that time, that's when Audi got a hold of them. So.
More so with the Gallardo as well, I think.
Yeah.
I think the Gallardo. Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go.
I was just gonna say, I think the best Murcielago design was the SV because that was the craziest stuff. That was
Lamborghini coming back.
Yeah, it's like Lambo said, okay, Audi, we're gonna not take your advice on this one.
Yeah, Audi stuff it.
Pure Lamborghini, old school, and make it look the wildest thing that's ever been made. Yeah.
If the SV came with a manual, it would be a proper return back to the old Lamborghini.
Yeah.
It'd be 100% the return.
That could be the modern Countach if it had come with a manual.
And I'm pretty sure someone will probably swap one at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that after the Murcielago and the Gallardo and stuff, that's when Audi kind of loosened the chains and said, you know what, go mad again. Because after those two, that's when Lamborghini coming back to all the points and the wild designs, and they started getting crazier.
Look at the Aventador. That thing is wild.
Exactly. And it's like finally, they're getting this wild Italian design back, and it's craziness. And dare I say, well, in lieu of this new Countach, Lamborghini's one of the last ones to really be doing it. All these other supercar manufacturers are so dedicated to wind tunnels and nice rounded and everything has to be. And Lamborghini's still going, you know what? We still are mad, and they make wild and crazy shapes and designs.
We're still going to get a stroke victim to design the new car for us.
Right, yeah. And it's not going to be, drawn by the shape of the wind going over an object. It's just going to be us going, yeah, we like this angle and that.
Yeah. That'll do,
It
looks insane, but that's us. Yeah.
Yeah. Because everything else, dare I say, I'm going to bring this up. The Ferrari Roma, very, very, very clean car. Let's not get crazy. Very.
It had sex with a cheese grater in the front.
Keys.
Yeah, I did.
Keys.
Yeah.
I love the. Now I do like the rear end. The rear end's very sharp.
I think the side and the back are all, quite good.
Yeah.
But the front, yeah.
I'm not necessarily hating on the front, but when you look at it there again, it's very clean. It's a very sanitized shape and design, and you want to. I really want to like it but I can't because it's like if I'm going to spend that kind of money, can I have something different, something a little more?
Yeah, if I'm going to spend $250,000, can I have something a little more exotic looking? Not so wind tunnel-y, very aerodynamic, very engineered, very precise.
Yeah.
So a little more out of the box, kind of old school, mad design. Yeah. Maybe not wedge shapes, because that's more Lamborghini territory, but something wild.
Yeah, that's it. And nothing wrong with it. It's what it is. But I think they could have. I guess I miss those days of wild looking supercars.
I think we all do.
And okay, well,
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Oh, getting to your point about the Roma, that's why I think the F12 was Ferrari's best C car, with a combination of nice, elegant looks, but also being really, really aggressive. They hit the nail on the head with that.
Yeah. And that is one I wonder, because we all know Ferrari is not afraid to revisit their old cars and kind of retro one. When is Ferrari going to say, you know what, we just remade the Testarossa? And and it's like,
Let's hope it's better than Lamborghini's new Countach.
Yeah, well, let's hope it's better than the original Testarossa.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
That was barely a Ferrari.
I mean, it had instrument clutch. It the indicator stalks from Morris Marinas and stuff, and like old British, kind of outdated
Gunk.
Excuse me, but shitboxes.
Yeah.
Accurately describes Marina.
Honestly, I gotta say, if anything's been retro recently that I thought, you know what, that is a particularly nice example of a retro car, it's the Pantera.
Yeah.
That new design Pantera is beautiful. It's like, it's clearly Pantera, because the moment you see it, you know what it is. But it's clean. It is more fluid, but it doesn't lose that shape. You know what it is the moment you see it. But it's modern. And you can tell it's modern, but it has that old look. And that's the only one I think that has been done right.
Well, I will play devil's advocate. I'll say that there's another one, I think, that also does a pretty good job of keeping that kind of old classic design, but adding a few new, slightly more modern elements. And it is a new version of the classic Jaguar E-Type made by a small company in England called Lionheart, and they made this called the K.
Yeah,
and it's not that classic design, but if you look at the side, it's got a few more sleek elements to it. The back is a little more sleek, and
well, it's a little bigger.
best bit. Guess what engine it has? Kazi V8.
Oh, nice. Okay.
167 horsepower, I believe.
Oh, okay, so they didn't get crazy with it.
No, they didn't go the full 700, 800.
But I'm guessing if they got Cosworth to do that, it's probably naturally aspirated, isn't
it? It is, yeah.
Yes.
I believe it is, yeah.
I thought that was
Nice.
called the Growler, though, on Top Gear a long, long time ago. I thought
That's
it was,
might be.
It looks like that.
Except there's one issue with that. It's called the Growler, whereas this is called the K, so it's a bit less
I think
offensive.
they might have just changed name. Might be the same guys just changing names.
Maybe.
Yeah, but okay.
It's very similar to that to me.
They named it the K.
It's not much better.
Well, no. What my thing is, they named it after a cheap Japanese car.
Yeah.
Price is changing.
Just saying.
Either that or one of the worst, or a crap load of 80s Chrysler products.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're the K bodies and stuff like that. Oh God.
Here we go.
When I was on vacation, I was talking to someone. We had a party for some people my uncle used to work with, and one of the people at the party was saying that though he knew someone who had one of those Chrysler K cars from the 80s, and that he actually bottomed it out once, and because the oil pan was the lowest thing on the car, it was the lowest to the ground. When he bottomed out, it just completely decimated the oil pan, and that was the end of that. It was the end of the car. Just done. Gone.
Well,
Yeah.
actually, that was just about every car from the 80s back then. The only thing that could possibly hang down lower than the oil pan was if it had an automatic transmission. The transmission pan, I knew a lot of people.
That's even worse then. Yeah,
Yeah, I knew a lot of people that ripped oil pans and
transmission fluid just
out of cars.
thin from on the pavement. Yeah.
Yep, just yanked them right out. Yeah, it's a mess.
Sound like one of your ghosts opening up your basement door.
Undoing the bolts on the oil pan.
That's a whole nother level right there. But yeah, that was a big problem back in the
It
those
was.
cars because they tried to make them lower to the ground. They was trying to do that, but they hadn't learned how to tuck everything up into the cars that they do now. A lot of just, you hit a curb wrong, or a lot of people would go into a ditch or something and just rip the hole underneath of the car out. That was common.
I mean, you can say goodbye to your exhaust, your transmission pan, your oil pan, just about anything of inherent value underneath. Though you just buy. Gone.
I guess that would be reasoning for 80s cars being 80s SUVs being more reliable during the 80s. You could bottom that out, really, could you?
Because you can't bottom out as easily.
Yeah. So if we had 80s,
you could, but you had to try a lot harder.
Well, the other thing that was quite dangerous in the 80s with those SUVs is you could flip them on the side or on the roof quite easily, and then that'd be the end of you. And,
Well, yeah, because the worst part with those, well, you could say that about a lot of the even 70s era ones, was first of all, they put 10-speed tires on them, the little tiny pizza cutter tires. And then they were inside. Like, the car is almost 8 foot wide, but from center to center of the wheels is only like 4.5 foot. They are so underneath the car and not out on the edges like modern cars. So it just causes that. If you look at like old Broncos or Blazers, stuff like that, the wheels are way in. I mean, way in.
Yeah.
even the old Range Rovers, that you get some wheel wobble. It's like, whoa, it's doing this, yeah.
Yeah.